Today's story is a tragic tale that took place on historical soil. A rising Hollywood starlet whose life and career are firmly in front of her intentionally climbs to the top of the world's most recognized sign and falls to her death. But why? Only 24 years old and taken too soon. This is the story, life, and death of Peg Entwistle, the girl who jumped from the Hollywood sign. Welcome to Curious History Mysteries. Millicent Lillian Entwistle, known to her friends as Peg, was born February 5, 1908 in Port Talbot, Glamorgan, Wales. When she was 8 years old, she immigrated to America on the SS Philadelphia and settled in New York. The year was 1916 and Peg's father and uncle were both actors. This no doubt had a huge influence on Peg later in life. Peg's father Robert was making enough money for them to get by somewhat comfortably. While the family was not rich, they did once live in a London neighborhood where homes were slightly upscale. Robert and his brother were chosen to be in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, where they performed in front of King Edward V and Queen Mary. Peg got to watch the whole thing and was absolutely thrilled. But family life was not always easy in the Entwistle home, and after years of marital disputes, Robert decided to divorce Peg's mother Emily in 1910. After a terrible custody battle, Robert was granted full custody of Peg. But for some reason, Robert decided to lie to Peg and tell her that her mother had died. Not knowing the real truth, Peg accepted this and she never saw her mother again. In December of 1922, her father Robert was the victim of a hit-and-run accident and died from his injuries. Robert left a strange statement in his will which stated, "Millicent Lillian Entwistle is the daughter of my first wife whom I divorced, and the custody of my said daughter was awarded to me. I do not desire said daughter to be at any time in the custody or control of her said mother." This would not have needed been said had Emily already been dead. Later in life, Peg's uncle Charles would verify that her mother was in fact alive. Emily had simply had an affair with another actor named Julius Shaw. So, Peg and her two younger brothers were taken in by their uncle, who was a manager for Broadway actor Walter Hampton. In 1925, Peg was living in Boston as a student of what is now called the Huntington Theater. At just 17, Peg played the role of Hedwig in a 1925 production of The Wild Duck. In the crowd was a young Betty Davis who was so enthralled with Peg's performance that she told her mother after the show that she wanted to be just like Peg. Just imagine if Betty hadn't seen Peg that afternoon. Hollywood would have been a very different place. By 1926, Peg was recruited by the New York Theater Guild, giving her first credited role in June as Martha in The Man from Toronto. She was the youngest actress ever to be recruited. Peg traveled around the country as a representative of the Guild during a special tour celebrating the Theater Guild's 10-year anniversary. The play opened at the Selwyn Theater and ran for 28 performances. Peg performed in 10 Broadway plays between 1926 and 1932. Peg's longest-running play was the 1927 hit Tommy, in which she starred with Sidney Toller, which ran for 232 performances and became the play for which she was most remembered. In 1929, Peg told a reporter that she would rather play roles that carry conviction. Early 1932 would be Peg's last Broadway performance in Alice Sit by the Fire. The show was canceled, and in the aftermath, Peg and the other players were given only a week's pay rather than a percentage of the box office gross, which was agreed upon beforehand. May 1932, in the middle of the Great Depression, Peg was in Los Angeles with a role in The Mad Hopes. After The Mad Hopes finished, Peg won her first and only credited role with Radio Pictures. In April of 1927, Peg married Robert Keith. But the marriage didn't last long. Peg was granted a divorce in 1929. She charged her husband with cruelty. Peg also claimed that her husband didn't tell her he was previously married twice and was the father of a young boy from his second marriage. He was then expected to care for the boy while his mother was on tour, which essentially meant that Peg was raising the boy herself. This was certainly not what the actress was interested in. Peg fell into a deep depression. With little money and even less acting opportunity, Peg began a downward spiral that would end in disaster. On September 18, 1932, Peg told her uncle she was going to the store and then meeting up with friends. This was the last time Peg was seen alive. 45 feet over the hills of Los Angeles stands one of the world's most recognizable landmarks, the Hollywood sign. Millions of people come to this iconic landmark each year to take a picture and imagine what their lives would be like if they were to chase the dream that so many of the world's actors have chased while living beneath its shadow. For aspiring stars, the sign is much more than a symbol of success. It's a glimpse to the past, looking back at late stars who flourished in the industry, and even a look into a possibly glittering future. Originally the Hollywood Land sign, it sits atop Mount Lee in Los Angeles. The sign was originally created in 1923 as a temporary advertisement for a local real estate development. However, due to high recognition, the sign was left up and replaced in 1978 with a more durable structure. Because of its popularity, the sign is often vandalized and pranked. It has since gone under restoration and had a security system and fencing installed for safety measures. The sign is protected and promoted by the nonprofit the Hollywood Sign Trust. However, there is a dark side to this sign. On September 18, 1932, a woman hiking below the Hollywood sign found a woman's shoe, purse, and jacket. The woman then opened the purse and found an unaliving note. After reading it, she saw the body down the hill. The woman reported her findings to the Los Angeles police and placed the items on the step of the police station. A detective and 2 radio car officers found the body in a ravine below the sign. The body was unfortunately that of Peg. Peg remained unidentified until her uncle, whom she was living with at the time, came to identify her. Police determined what Peg did was walk to the top of the hill, climb up a maintenance ladder to the top of the H, and jumped. The cause of death was listed as multiple pelvic fractures and internal bleeding. It took 2 days to identify her. The unaliving note read, "I am afraid, I am a coward. I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain." Poor Peg, at the time all felt hopeless. Her big role in 13 Women was all but cut from the movie just a month before release. All because she played a lesbian, which in the 1930s would have been incredibly taboo and probably wouldn't have set well with movie theater audiences at the time. Peg's death brought wide and sensationalized publicity. Her funeral was held on the 20th of September. Her body was cremated and her ashes sent to Glendale, Ohio for burial next to her father in Oak Hill Cemetery. In 2014, roughly 100 people marked the anniversary of Peg's death by gathering in the parking lot of Beechwood Market in Hollywood to watch 13 Women on the outdoor projector. Proceeds from a raffle and from food and beverages sold at the screening were donated to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Peg's name. In 2014, Vanity Fair published a story about the haunting of the Hollywood sign, saying that Peg's ghost haunted the H after it toppled over mysteriously in the 1940s. Hikers have also reported smelling gardenias, supposedly Peg's favorite perfume, and seeing a mysterious blonde woman wearing 1930s clothing hiking near the sign. Could this be the ghost of Peg? Why does she stay at the sign? Is she stuck here? Maybe one day we will find out. I hope that Peg found peace that she couldn't find in life. Her actions are never the solution to life's problems, and if you ever find yourself feeling this way, please contact 988 on your mobile device. The person who answers your call will show you love, compassion, and help you find your sender so you can avoid what would be the biggest regret of your life. Peg was loved, and so are you. Before we leave you, we'd like to take a moment and thank our wonderful Patreon patrons whose support makes it possible for us to continue to make content. If you'd like to know more about joining our Patreon community, we'll leave a link in the description below. And if Patreon isn't your thing, that's totally okay. Instead, please consider giving this video a like and subscribe. It would really mean the world to us and help the channel to continue to grow. Thanks for watching today, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. And remember, stay curious.